They fake it to Sama. Wants a bunch. Double coverage. Good luck.
How about that?
Oh my goodness, it's caught. What a way to start the season.
Where it's in right now inside in. And McNamara is under pressure. Got away from Kessler. And then he's able to find Edward.
It's the Cy-Hawk rivalry. And finally, we're here at week 2. Hello, everybody. You're listening to the College Sports Superfan. We've got an epic rivalry between Iowa State and Iowa coming in at Iowa City. I'm super excited about this one. This game has so much passion behind it because it's an in-state rivalry game, and the games tend to be very close. Most of the recent meetings between the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes tend to be within 7 points or less. So typically, no matter what the rankings are, no matter who's hosting, it's always a big environment, and it always ends up being a really, really close game. Let's talk about this series here. The schools are just 62 miles apart, so very, very close, and they're meeting for the 71st time. Iowa leads the all-time series 47-23 because there's a long stretch between the early 80s and the late 90s where Iowa won every single year. So that's a big reason why that's the case when they were having some really dominant teams in the past. But then Iowa State finally got it back together, and it's been really even ever since. Let's talk about the current present, though. Iowa State, they defeated University of North Dakota 21-3. And you look at that score and you go, that doesn't seem like a very impressive score until you realize the fact that Iowa State got dominated in the time of possession. Absolutely dominated. North Dakota had the ball for 38 minutes compared to Iowa State's 22 minutes. So basically, the North Dakota Fighting Hawks had possession of the football for nearly 2/3 of the game, and yet the Iowa State defense, despite playing the vast majority of the game, still only gave up 3 points. That is a rugged, tough, well-conditioned defense that Iowa State has. And meanwhile, for the brief bit that the Cyclones had the football, they made really good use of it, and Rocco Becht looked fantastic, just incredible. He's the sophomore quarterback from Zafrillis, like the water bottle. Zafrillis, Florida. He had a 77% accuracy. He was 20 for 26, 267 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and he even had a short rushing touchdown as well. So he scored all 3 touchdowns. Looked fantastic. Jalen Noel had 8 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown. He just looked like a superstar receiver. So it seems like the new receivers that Iowa State's got have already got something clicking with Rocco Becht right away. Here's the big concern for the Cyclones, though, is the line of scrimmage. So I just mentioned, passing game, really strong for Iowa State. The run game, though, not so much. And that's really shocking because coming into this season, not only did they have Rocco Becht, but they also have Abu Sama at running back. He got really hot towards the end of last season. In the last half of the season, he was one of the best running backs in the Big 12. So there's a lot of hype from heading into this year, but just against North Dakota, he had one really good run and just really couldn't get much going. Not only that, but on the other side, the reason why North Dakota had the ball for so long is because they ran the ball so effectively. And they picked up yards when they had to through the air, but Iowa State's defense was just getting gashed on the ground, missing tackles, couldn't get through the offensive line. So on both sides of the line of scrimmage, Iowa State really got pushed around. But fortunately for the Cyclones, they were still able to comfortably win the game. Speaking of comfortably winning the game, let's talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. They played Illinois State, who was another really solid FCS team, maybe not quite as good as North Dakota. But Illinois State is probably going to make some noise in their conference as well, and Iowa won 40-0. It should be noted, though, that there were some late scores, and Iowa was off to a really slow start in this game. You go into halftime, I think they were up 6-0, and you're going, okay, it's the same old Iowa team, elite defense, terrible offense. But finally, the offense got it together. They started to click, and Cade McNamara, 251 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and no turnovers. And then Caleb Johnson, the running back, really got hot again right at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, but he did have 119 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So there's a lot of balance with this Iowa offense, unlike what I just talked about with Iowa State. The other exciting thing about Iowa is freshman wide receiver Reese Vanderzee, who's from nearby in the area, had 5 catches for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he made this one really nice touchdown grab. He high pointed it between a couple of defenders, so he looks like he could become a future superstar for this Hawkeyes offense. And then meanwhile, the defense is going to be elite again for Iowa. They have 8 returning starters on this defense. A defense last year that was arguably one of the best, if not the best, in the entire country. So they bring back a lot of experience from that team. And the offensive line also very experienced. There's going to be some guys starting in this Iowa State game that will be making their 40th career start. So there's a lot of experience among the offensive line, a lot of experience among the defense, and that's why they're clicking so well. Before I say my prediction for this particular Cy-Hawk game, I just wanted to say an interesting thing to note about this rivalry series. Iowa State tends to do better on the road against Iowa than they do at home against Iowa. Their last 3 victories against the Hawkeyes have all come in Iowa City, which is exactly where this game is. And I think that's why, despite the fact that Iowa's ranked number 21 in the country and looks like the much better team on paper than Iowa State, Iowa is only favored by 2.5 points because you got to look back at the recent history. However, I truly believe Iowa is the better team here. They got a solid defense. The offense is finally clicking a little bit. And the fact that Iowa State's line of scrimmage, their offensive line, defensive line, just wasn't very impressive to me. I think Iowa's going to push them around a little bit, and they're going to win this game by 7 points. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. We've got 3 more games to predict after this one. You're listening to the College Sports Superfan.